right, welcome, and sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you. It is 7 o'clock. Time for Sci-Fi Distilled. Welcome back, Mary Beth, and welcome, Captain Phil.
Not sorry.
This is another Captain Phil's Make Me Watch. So Phil picked this movie, and we were looking for something to do, so he said, "What the hell?" So
And the real treasure, yeah, the real treasure.
You're still friends with me. You're still friends with me, which is amazing.
We still are. But people that have seen this movie know what we're going to talk about. There's just going to be spoilers. There has to be. There's no way we can talk about the movie.
Yes.
But you're going to go, why is this science? This is not a science fiction movie, and it's got a little bit in it. So. But before we get to that, I think we got some news.
We have a little bit of news, and I've got some things I want to hear you guys' opinions on. First, right off the bat, guys, I watched it, so you don't have to. I watched the first 2 episodes of Pluribus, which is all that's dropped so far. I love it. So on the surface, it's probably going to look a little bit like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but no, it's a lot deeper than that. It is currently being praised as 2025's smartest show, which is saying something after Severance. Severance was a very smart show. Pluribus is following in the footsteps of stuff like A for Andromeda, Contact, or The Arrival, but with a really interesting twist. I don't know. The credits, I mean... It's Vince Gilligan. It's true Vince Gilligan. We know him best from X-Files, but we know him best from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But it's true his true mash of sci-fi, absurdity, and realism, like all kind of mixed together. So let me know. Do you want me to kind of give you the general gist of what's going on and see if it's interesting to you, or do you want me to just move on?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of spoilers, but right, if you talk about
it would be a little spoilery, but it'd be enough to kind of get your foot in the door, your toe in the door, or whatever.
She's obviously very excited about this, folks. So you might as well let her talk.
I like it. I like it. I thought it was great. I think it's a very, very smart show. So in the show,
let me just say this: if you watch the trailer, you will not understand. Like, it doesn't tell you anything about.
The trailer doesn't tell you.
Or the TV show.
Might have been a bad trailer.
There's a Looper video that gives you a much better, I think it's Looper on YouTube that gives you much better. Yeah. If you guys are interested, I could find the link and because I did watch that because I'm like, oh, well, that's what it's about.
Yeah. So here, I'll just sort of summarize, and I don't think this is a horrible spoiler. This show. So you remember in Contact, the aliens sent the blueprints for those spinning wheel geoscope, whatever it was, that was the actual ship that brought her to wherever she went. In this show, the aliens sent an RNA sequence. RNA is what tells our genetics what to do. It's biologic instructions to change us. Because humans are freaking idiots, they immediately, it's RNA. Look at this. Let's transcribe it into DNA and inject it into lab rats. And then the show is off and running from there. So I think it's a great show. I think it is really interesting. I highly recommend. Rizzo didn't sound too interested. I don't know if Phil's even heard of it.
I haven't heard of it. Where is it on?
There's the link to the Looper video, which is up there 3 times. If anybody is interested, which went up a whole bunch of times. Sorry about that. But all that's the same link. So
wow. Okay.
Just pick one. Right, I gotta remember to reply just to me.
I will move on. Alien Earth. Alien Earth was a hit with critics. Not as much with fans, but I liked it. I thought it was great. But it was a hit with critics when it came out on FX last August. The cable network is officially moving forward with season 2. Production on season 2 is going to relocate from Thailand, where they were shooting in the jungle, to London. And they're going to begin next year, which means they'll probably debut season 2 in 2027. Cool. All right. I love it. It's great. Last time Phil was here, we did V for Vendetta. There is V for Vendetta news. HBO completely blew this by not announcing this news on remember the 5th of November. But it is being reported that there will be a serialized, meaning a series, take on Alan Moore's most celebrated work, graphic novel, V for Vendetta. It's in development at HBO. DC Studio co-heads James Gunn and Peter Safran are on board as executive producers, and I generally like what James Gunn does, so I'll be interested to see what he does with this. They don't know yet if this is going to be a direct retelling of the graphic novel, but I suspect it will be much closer to the graphic novel than the movie was. What do you think, Rizzo? Do we need more V for Vendetta in the world? And the answer is yes. Go.
Still saying no. I don't know. I think it's, the movie, it's so funny because it is so timely. Politically, you know what I'm saying? And so
yes.
I don't know, it's one of those movies it's still very recent. I mean, what was it? What did we say? What year was it? 2002 or something, 3, something like that? Which seems like a long time ago, but then again, I don't know. I don't think it needs to be remade. Is this supposed to be a sequel? Did I miss that part?
No, it's a series. It's going to be a
series.
It's
a TV series. I'm sorry. I missed that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, here we've had this conversation that they keep going back to the well for old stuff instead of making.
Yeah, but new... I'm okay with this message. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, we'll see. It all depends on its execution.
Yeah, that's true. Phil, what do you think? Do we need a little more V for Vendetta?
I think V for Vendetta is perfect as the movie the way it is. I think they just are conspiring to piss off Alan Moore is basically what they're doing, because Alan Moore doesn't like his stuff adapted. And and I think I think that's what's really happening here. I mean, if it goes the way of Watchmen, I thought Watchmen, the series, was kind of socially appropriate and interesting and went in a different direction. But at the end of the day, Alan says, this is the story. It has a beginning, middle, and an end. Don't do any sequels to it. And DC says, oh, we will do whatever you say. You are the great creator. 5 minutes later,
yeah, right.
They change their mind.
It's all screwed up. Yeah.
Plus capitalism. There you go. So we'll see. I mean, it's too early to say if it's going to be good or bad. I just feel the movie itself is kind of perfect. It's like, well, maybe they should make a series out of 2001: A Space Odyssey. That sort of thing.
Chris is asking, is it a continuation of that current story?
No,
or is it rebooting the whole story?
Either a reboot or a retelling.
Yeah, it's probably not.
I mean, there's meat. Dramatically, there's meat and potatoes there to exploit. Like, how did England get to be the way it was? There's like the pre-story.
There could be an interesting pre-story there. Yes.
The virus. There's the experimentation on the prisoners. How V got to be V.
Yeah, there's all that.
Well, there's even the whole. There's that one mention of the U.S. is in a civil war. While this is all going on.
Yeah.
There's aspects that could be explored for sure, I think. But again, not slight pun intended. Its execution is what's going to. How well is it written?
Yeah.
Well, all right, moving on.
You said sorry to bother you with sci-fi adjacent. Maybe this TV series will be V for Vendetta adjacent.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right, moving on with the news. In the news that Rizzo hates, real science news. When the show was over, everybody in sort of the northern
I don't know why you keep saying that.
I know I did real science one time and you didn't like it.
You did non anything. It was like just news for like local news or something. Anyway, it was like, film at 11. Whatever. Continue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I love you. I love you guys. You guys are like the George and Gracie of Facebook streaming shows.
I'm not sure how to take
that.
Right,
anyway. In real science news,
the whale.
When the show
is that what you're talking about, George and Gracie?
No, I'm talking about the characters, the people.
I know who you meant. I was making a Star Trek reference.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody, go outside and look and see the northern lights. They were there last night after this latest geomagnetic storm. I have seen some fantastic photos online. They were supposed to be visible again tonight, with the best time to go out just after 10 p.m. So, and then finally tonight, a couple weeks ago, I reported that after Star Trek Las Vegas, or at Star Trek Las Vegas, Brandon Braga said that Star Trek needs more episodes. And we discussed all of that. Well, now he has made another proclamation that Rizzo brought to my attention. He and Rick Berman feel that the Star Trek dialogue has significantly changed and possibly for the worse. Rizzo, what do you think about? Can you explain what he's talking about and what do you think?
What he's talking about is when they wrote Star Trek in, we call it the golden era, the 90s, and TNG and DS9 and even up to Enterprise, they didn't use colloquial English. Okay, they didn't. What?
No, I'm laughing at Bill now. Keep going. You're fine.
So that's the thing. But what has happened with the modern Trek is they're saying things like high five and things that would be out of character. Even in the original series, they didn't really use like groovy. You know what I'm saying? Think about it.
Yeah,
think about
it's
it.
very
If
classic language.
Star Trek said, and somebody says, well, that's just groovy, Captain. Which would have fit in the 1960s, but it wouldn't have fit. It would look ridiculous now. And I think that's what they're talking about, is they tried to keep the language that they used kind of neutral in the sense that it's from a different time. So they wouldn't necessarily have the same colloquialisms that we do now. But Discovery and Strange New Worlds, they're using these more I don't know how to put it. It's colloquial. They're just more comfortable.
Yeah, it's
social
more,
type thing.
more informal. It's a much more informal.
Like we look at it and go, well, that sounds normal, but it doesn't fit the genre. And I think I agree with them. I think it does take away from the overall.
It's supposed to be 300 years into the future, but they're still talking. It's like, do we use old OLDE English? When we talk, to each other, it's silly. And I always said this about the holodeck, the Next Generation. They're always like cosplaying in the holodeck. Like a Renaissance fair. They're going back to detective stories from the 1940s and stuff like this. And I'm like, okay, well, in the Navy, if you're in the Navy, when you have shore leave, do you go to a Renaissance fair and like, is that what do these people do? So I never felt that was realistic and next gen. So I agree with them. I think they're right. You need to like establish the realism of the fantasy world they've created, this fake world, and to bring the way we speak into this world makes a crack. It's hard to believe. And we're a group of people who believe in phasers and replicators and transporter beams and whatever technobabble they said on Next Gen to save the day and stuff like that. We all bought it, but you can't say, catch you later, I'm eating a potato, or jump the shark, or whatever. You can't, and you know what? I know you're going to appreciate this, Rizzo. The thing that killed me about the greatest episode of Star Trek ever made, Subspace Rhapsody, is the fact that when she's singing those songs before they get into that rift, it's all 1920s. It's all 20th century show tunes. There's nothing contemporary.
The other example that they brought up was in the last Star Trek film. They used a Beastie Boys song to blow up the other enemy. And that think about, we're 300 years. I mean, maybe somebody's listening to the Beastie Boys, but what was it?
Yeah, I'm not going to put Mozart on.
What was the popular 300 years ago for music?
No matter how much it slaps. Yeah.
So, I think that's what they're getting at. It just doesn't fit the genre. It doesn't fit the show.
It's lazy.
It's lazy. We've talked about that for the writing we felt has been lazy on these shows.
Yeah. Well, we agree on something that's critical about Strange New Worlds.
Most people agree that the musical episode stunk, Phil. You're the only one.
Most people are wrong. Hey, I have a piece of news that we might want to. I just read that frequent guest at Ticonderoga, David Gerald, is one of the guests of honor at next year's ReaderCon convention in Massachusetts. Now, ReaderCon is a literary science fiction convention. I believe they're still holding it in Quincy, Massachusetts. They do a deep dive into the author guest's work. So the fact that David is on that, I believe he's one of the guests of honor. They're going to be doing like a 3.5, 4-day examination of his writings. And the convention itself has skewed away from more of the classic science fiction writers in recent years, which is why I sort of stopped being interested in it. When we had Ursula K. Le Guin there. We had
Mhm.
Judith Merrill there. We had Harlan Ellison there. And lately they brought in people that actually I probably am just showing my age now. I didn't really know, but the fact that they're doing one with David Gerrold, I think, is great. I think his written work deserves a deep dive, especially The Man Who Folded Himself. And it's kind of exciting that he's getting the ReaderCon treatment. So look into that. He
I'm
might be
just
talking
looking
about it.
this up, guys. This is July 9 through 12, 2026 at the Boston Marriott Burlington in
Oh,
Burlington,
they're back in Burlington. Yeah,
Massachusetts.
yeah.
Kind of near, that's sort of like not even an hour from me. It's kind of near me. So I may wander over and check that out. Show a little
That's
support to
different
our
than
friend.
Boston, right?
It is different from Boston. Boston was right in Boston. It was like a
Right.
completely different thing. Yeah.
And BosCon is more of a general science fiction convention where they'll have an art show. They may or may not show films. They'll do topics. They'll do music, stuff like that. They do like a Saturday night play or something, dramatic play or something silly that they make up. ReaderCon is a literary conference. They're only talking about literature. It's filled with readings and examinations and deep dives, and it gets a little academic. It gets a little hairy, but honestly, I went to those conventions for years, and they're quite good, especially when they have somebody of a high caliber type author there. And I'm just thinking that,
He is prolific. Yeah.
yeah. So I think this is a really good thing for David. I think it's deserved. So
I'm kind of
he's much
surprised he
more than
hasn't
privileged.
been there before.
At ReaderCon.
Yeah.
Well,
Probably because he lived in Los Angeles.
Oh,
Yeah.
Los
They
Angeles.
didn't want to
Oh,
fly him
yeah.
in. They
He's
didn't
only
want
moved to
to
New
fly him in.
England. He's only been in New England, what, a couple, 2-3 years now?
Maybe not even 2 years.
So.
Plus, he's getting up there in years, so this might be a chance for them to do this, and show him some love now while he's here to enjoy it, and they can talk to him about it and stuff. And I believe his work, deserves that sort of examination. There's a great amount of it. It's an interesting convention. I think if anybody decides to go, look at the schedule and find the day that they do the guest of honor interviews. Those are really intense. They interview the entire convention stops, and you go and you listen to somebody who has great knowledge of the guest interview the guest for like a solid hour. It's really, really good. It's really deep. So yeah, congratulations, David. I think he deserves it.
That is awesome.
Well, David, he's always up at the set tour. So you guys that pretty much that come on the show regularly know that David's up there fairly regular, almost once a month.
Yes, David will be there
and he will be there for Shatner as usual, along with now. Who's the other guest? Sorrell.
Louise Sorrell, who played. It was in Requiem for Methuselah.
Yeah, not Andrea. Something.
No, Raina. I think it was Raina.
Raina. You're right. Andrea.
She's the one that looks a bit like Lady Gaga. There's a lot of Lady Gaga memes with her. It's her. Never mind. Because she's in the silver thing. Never mind. I forget it.
Oh, I thought you meant her face because I'm like, she doesn't really look.
Yeah, in some of the pictures, they kind of make her look like that. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I have issues.
All right, that's all I really had for news. While you're pulling up the drink picture, I will say that Doug Drexler's Kickstarter for Trek Star, he is up to 119,000 out of 165,000, 46,000 more to go, and only 7 days, guys. I am pulling so hard for Doug. I want to
hope
see
he
this
gets
thing
it. I mean, I hope maybe even he realizes if he gets 140 or whatever that they go, well, I don't know what their expenses are to make a documentary. But
yeah, I don't know either. And this
maybe
was
they
a
can
fully
say, well, we'll lower it just to get it done. I mean, I don't know.
Rooting for him.
I don't know why. It always says has to be fully funded, or it doesn't happen. But even Tommy there with the Enterprise and stuff, they drop back their minimums to make it to get it to happen. So hopefully it'll happen either way. Plus, I want my what I pledged for. So.
Well, yeah, so do I actually.
At least you got the nose.
I got
You
the
got
nose.
you
I
got
don't
the
know if that
nose.
deal is like I get that I get that no matter what, or if I only get that if
Well,
the
you
thing is.
should. I think that would be crappy if he didn't. Yeah, because that was separate. But whatever. Anyway, here's our drink. Horse's Neck. It's called. This is actually Mary Beth found this one before I even had a chance to look. So, but it was simple. I like simple. So you got bourbon and ginger ale and some bitters. Pretty much can't get any simpler than that.
I'd drink that. I bet that's
and
good.
the horses. We'll get to the reference of why it's the horse's neck once we get
Turns
talking
into
about
a horse after you drink it.
this show, this movie. So anyway, let's get into this. It was 2018. The basic idea of the film, it's definitely a commentary on commercialism, like capitalism.
Yep.
Running rampant. And the basic is focuses on this one character, Cass, who needs a job. He gets a job as a telemarketer. And the nutshell is he excels. He becomes what did they call the guys at the top floor of the power callers, right? He becomes a power caller, meaning he gets a lot of sales, so he moves up to the top floor. And when he does so well eventually that he does become a power caller, and that's when things start to get really weird. So, Mary Beth, what was your overall feeling on the film, since this was a make me watch?
Yes, this was a make me watch. And you know what, Riz? I'm going to confess up right here. Phil had recommended this to me before, and I watched the trailer that Phil sent me, and I had the exact same reaction as you. Like, Phil, this really isn't sci-fi.
No, because
he's like, no,
there is nothing in the trailer that would make you think this.
There was
sci-fi.
Nothing in the trailer.
It's definitely a comedy. It's a dark comedy.
It is a dark comedy. Yeah, it is a dark comedy. Once I got into it, I found it a very sharp insight look into capitalism and like oligarchs, I guess. There's a oligarch in this show, but we were talking about this right before the show started. I wanted to dive a little more into Worry Free. I wanted to know what that was all about. Like, what was going on? How did that come to be?
I know most
How
people,
did people get suckered into this?
Yeah, people that are watching this. There's a story.
You better give me some background.
Yeah, there's a story with Cass where he's moving up the ladder of this company, and then there's another company that this is the oligarch runs, and it's called, what was it called again? I forgot. It was Worry Free. So basically, the idea it's indentured servitude. You sign your life over to this company, and you work for them, but they provide everything you need: food, clothing, healthcare.
They show them in bunk beds,
but it's not like you get a house. You're in like boot camp type, like
a dorm.
You're in like a dorm, and it doesn't just you sign your whole family, like your kids are working, and this is for the rest of your life. So of course there's this underlying thing, and of course news is starting to investigate, and these people are being not treated well, and is it slavery? So there's also a commentary on modern slavery, as well as people being kept under the company dime, company store, kind of going back to those years where people were just indentured forever because they couldn't pay back. They couldn't pay back what they owed the company to begin with. And then Cass wants to get recruited by this company to kind of, and this is where it gets really, really weird. Do we want to give away this part?
Yeah, go for it.
It might entice. I say give it away because it might entice people to watch it.
So
it's hard to watch this. It's hard to find this movie. You guys, we had to sign up for I had to sign up for an extra thing.
Yeah, it was. I watched it on Canuckavision. So
yeah, I also watched it on television of questionable legality.
Okay, I had to sign up for an extra level of service on Amazon Prime, ironically.
Yes,
and,
that was
right. Yeah.
And I looked the DVD up on, I figured, well, I'll just buy the DVD, because I think I only have this as a DVD-R in my collection, because I originally watched it off when I used to have satellite TV, and I burned it to a DVD-R when I watched it. The movie's out of print, and it's going for big bucks on eBay. It's going for like $40, $50.
Interesting.
Yeah,
well, it was like a little indie film. The budget was only like
and
$3 million.
It's not that old. It's 2018, so it's not like it's that weird. Yeah, it was like an indie film.
If somebody doesn't want us to watch the movie, eh?
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, let me just finish the basics. So he's at a meeting with the guy that owns this company, this Worry Free company, and he's pitching him, and he's pitching him, and he offers him what do you offer him? $1 million, I think, or something like that, or $100 million, some insane amount of money.
Are we at the end where he's actually talking to the to
the Army Hammer?
Yeah, to the recruiter.
Yeah, well, when he ends up being a power crawler and going upstairs, they offer him a lot of money, and you don't really see what it is. It's just that he was able to pay all his bills and
oh yeah, they clearly were paying a lot of money, but he was just selling whatever. Yeah, he did feel he had a lot of, the main character has a lot of internal struggles with what he's doing, but he's making a lot of money. It's that struggle of, do you do the right thing, or do you,
well, his girlfriend is Jiminy Cricket on his
right.
shoulder.
She's like an artist. The girlfriend is an artist, and of course she leaves him because she's like, if you're gonna keep doing this, I'm not, we're done. But basically he ends up having this meeting. So the guy from Worry Free wants to recruit him. What he accidentally finds out is, this is where it gets weird. I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but he's turning humans into a horse human hybrid, which is
literal
equisapiens, so that they're stronger, they live and they're basically half human, half horse, and so that they can work harder. And he wants to hire Cass to become one of these horse people and basically infiltrate their society, which he knows will happen,
on the inside.
and he will kind of be their version of an activist,
plant.
let's say, like a plant, so that he can control
them. When he knows they're going to revolt. When he offers him that job, he says something very offensive. He says, "I want you to be their Martin Luther King."
Yeah, Martin Luther King. I didn't want to say it, but that's what he said.
No, but I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. And but basically it was like an Uncle Tom sort of thing, where it's like you're going to be working against these people's interest. He's making all these insane offers to him and stuff, and Cassius is flipping out. He's like, and everything is like coming back to bite him. But the funny thing, Rizzo, is you talk about, on the play up to this, you're right. There's news stories. Is it slavery? Is this company slavery or whatever? When Cassius actually reveals that Worry Free is turning human beings into human horse hybrids, and he has a video of it, and he gets it on the news, the stock in the company goes up.
Yeah, set it down. Yeah, so basically he turns. That's the Phil kind of jump the horse a little bit. Yeah, he turns the guy down, says, "I'm going to do it," and then because he found out about the horse people before the guy actually could tell him about it, because he was trying to find the bathroom, and of course it's the old trope where he went to the wrong door. He ends up in this room where there's looks like a bathroom, but it turns out the horse people are in the stalls, and they're screaming, "Help! Help us! Help us!" And he loses his phone. They make a video on his phone.
Yeah, which was smart.
That's how he gets the video of them, and he puts it on the news and everything like that. So he becomes an activist for these people, and tries to get this shut down.
He has to go through this show called "Punch the SHIT out of you" or whatever.
Yeah, beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
And he literally has to get beat up and dipped in, just to get
they would show it. Yeah.
And watching that reminded me so much of RoboCop. I'll do that for $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Running Man.
Exactly. But once it finally got
these
out,
dehumanizing. Yeah.
And if you look at the commentary on this movie, there's a lot of stuff out there, interviews and stuff like this. Some of them good, some of them just people like who like to hear themselves talk, but some of them are fairly decent. After he does that, after he leaves that crazy, I'll do, you'll do that for $1, and he ends up being interviewed on real news shows, the bloody bandage on his head goes away, and it disappears. And as he gets more and more serious, this wound that he suffers, which is its own mini story within this story.
Right. So that was he was basically being a scab. The telemarketers down on the regular level were striking, and he was up on this. He's a power caller, and they would basically escort with police or whatever security in, and somebody threw a soda can and hit him in the head. So for the rest of the movie, he had this ridiculously oversized bandage that never stopped bleeding, if you noticed.
Yeah.
And that became like, she ended up getting like her own, the woman like ended up getting her own sponsorships and stuff like for that through the can, the soda.
The Hawk Tuah girl.
Basically, yeah.
She became the Hawk Tuah
girl.
Crazy.
And as disgusting as that was. But yeah, so you're right. So that's what Phil's saying. As he finally gets his head heals, that was kind of an image metaphor, if you will, or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, he basically does the right thing in the end, and basically gets the guy shut down, or tries to get him shut down.
Tries, although the very end.
So there's a part where before the guy reveals what he's doing to these people, they're snorting cocaine. And it turns out that that's one of the ways, or the way they introduce whatever turns people into this horse hybrid, is snorted through the nostrils. And of course, he starts freaking out, thinking, "Did you just give me the drug?"
And he lies to him.
And he lies. He says, no. Well, he does, but he says, "I love." Earmuffs on for the sensitive. But what I love, one of the pitches was, "But you're going to have a horse cock." Like, oh yeah, that's the reason you want to do that. But anyway, it was just. But
I don't see any horse women though, so really,
they were all horse.
Yeah, like all horsemen.
We assume though that there would be female horse people.
I don't know how many people he had turned into horses, so
he only seemed to have a handful.
But
he rallies all of them to help him. So at the end of the movie, there's kind of a riot. Like they basically, it's at this protest in front of the telemarketing company, and it goes really bad. At first, it looks like it's going against the people that are protesting, and then at the last second, the horse people show up and save the day. Basically, save him and everything else, and that's kind of where the movie sort of ends. But then there's a scene where he got back together with his girlfriend, and all of a sudden his nose goes out like a horse nose.
Yeah, turns into horse.
And then the next thing the credits is he goes and finds the guy. He goes to the guy's house, the owner of the company.
Yeah, the horseman.
And then so he goes to kill him. Yes, so there's apparently
the final scene was great.
There's apparently an anecdote to this to turn you back human, but we don't know if that actually was true.
But he did it. So our somewhat haphazard retelling of this movie probably does not do Boots Riley justice at all.
I'm not good at giving synopsis.
You're fine. Boots wrote and directed, and some of the themes he wove in, it is a class analysis of capitalism and how capitalism affects different, like if you're rich in a capitalistic versus if you're not as rich in a capitalistic society. And it's very, very clear. Apparently, I'm just seeing that there was a line that they ended up removing from the movie that was "Worry-free is making America great again." So they pulled that out. Phil, when you were looking at some of the commentary, did you pick up any interesting little pieces of information about what the message Boots was trying to give with this movie?
Well, Boots definitely worked in telemarketing, number one.
So he had personal experience with that.
Oh yeah.
So wait, we're going to talk, guys, about white voice a little bit, because it's a thing in the movie.
But basically he was coming out of a time prior to the George Floyd. This is before George Floyd was killed, but the fellow in Staten Island had been choked to death. And so this was sort of like, and Boots is involved with those protests and things, but he has a lot to say. There's a really good interview with Boots, with Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! If you Google Amy Goodman and Boots Riley, it'll come right up. It's about 30 minutes long, and they do a deep dive into everything we're talking about here, including white voice and the rest of it in his history. And it's kind of like he's showing where rapacious capitalism, out of control capitalism, is no good for anybody. It always wants to go to that next level, which is why the inevitable place where this movie was going was to turn the workers that were already indentured servitude to the company, to make them even work harder.
Into workhorses,
to make them work harder. And then, of course, the ridiculous oligarch who did that to these people now is afraid, because he's created something that's stronger than he is, that could possibly, and he was thinking, well, horses, and he says this, horses are docile, they serve us, whatever. And then
he quickly realizes he does not have control.
Yeah, he didn't realize that horses also stampede. That was his big mistake. And he tries to get Cassius to do this go between, and as
he wants to use Cassius to control them, right?
Well, he thinks he can control them because Cassius is doing all these other things,
or at least rat him out when they get organized for him to rat. He wanted
when Cassius goes up and becomes a power caller, in the earlier part, when he's just in Regal View by itself, he's selling, like, I don't know, books, services, whatever, things like this. When he goes up to be a power caller, he's selling the labor that Worry Free has. So he's selling the labor, or he's selling weapons. He's selling like cruise missiles and stuff as well, all these different things. And he's doing it for the money, and he's trying not to have a conscience about it. Of course, his girlfriend, is there. And Boots has said in these interviews, the character in the movie that's closest to him is Detroit, the woman, the girl, the art rebel. And she is like the Left Eye Rebel. And speaking of the Left Eye Rebel, they have that, the little mark on
right here.
And she's running around doing these things. The actual person who brings Cassius into Power Caller, the man with the eye patch, his eye patch is over his left eye.
Oh, is it really? Oh, that's great.
And it's a symbol that he doesn't see that, and he doesn't have a name. Whenever he says his name, you hear this beeping sound. And that's because he's become so empty as being a tool of this corporation that he's no longer himself. And there is only one scene right before Cassius goes in and ends up snorting the horse changing cocaine, before the scene where he sees the horse people. He speaks to Cassius in his own voice. And it's sad. It really is. And you see that he's such a broken person. So yeah, it's at the same time, it's almost like inevitable. Like, you can't stop this. It seems like this is a train that people have put together, and we're all on it, and no one's at the controls. And it's like the movie Speed. You can't slow it down. It's never going to slow down, which is, that's how it feels. That's how it feels to me. And that's, why this film really spoke to me. That, and the fact that in the actual early days of the telemarketing, the people who he's working for, the three people, are the most vile.
They are
gummy,
and that's what you get if you're working.
They're very corporate. They're very corporate America kind of.
I feel like they're dead and rotting from the inside out.
Yeah,
especially the guy,
all they care about is
with the beard and stuff. Oh my God, they're just, and even the woman, and the woman's name is Mrs.
Debauchery, but she goes, it's debauchery.
Yeah,
it's debauchery, but it's
debauchery.
Well, even Cat is Cash Green. His name is
Cash Green.
Cash Green.
Well, it's Cassius. His full name is Cassius, which is
right, but everybody is calling him Cash.
Yeah, everyone is calling him Cash.
Oh, and his last name is Green. I mean, that's definitely a reference to money. Yeah. No question about
it. Phil,
but you look at the world. But you look at the world that he lives in. He's 40 cents gas in this beat up hunk of junk he's driving. And he's driving up and down the streets of Oakland. There's constantly driving past homeless encampments everywhere he goes. And if you listen to the interviews with Boots Riley, Boots, this is where he came from. He says he knows a lot of people in this area, so he's able to like film without having to pay for
Oh,
it.
nice. Nice.
But those were real. I think those weren't just like put together for the film. Those are real encampments and stuff. So this is like this, and I say, okay, well maybe it's science fiction. Maybe it's not science fiction. Well, I feel like it's like about 10 or 20 years in the future, from 2018. And
it did not look like it looked like a very
really
possible future. It did not look that far-fetched.
No, it didn't look that far. Well, I mean, the horse thing's a little far-fetched, but
okay, yes, that part's far-fetched.
But
the worry-free
thing was an extreme, but you could see something like it. I mean, people kind of already are in some ways. It's just that luckily our laws currently, until they get changed, don't allow you to end up in jail. We got rid of that a long time ago, or because you owe money.
Phil, Phil, can you talk a little bit about? Can you explain what white voice is, why they're using it, and did Boots Riley have any comments on white voice?
Well, Boots Riley basically said the whole white voice thing, which is another like fantasy element that comes into the film. Like there's a magic realism element when he makes it when Cassius makes a call and he's in the room talking to the people. So it's like at somebody's dinner table or somebody's having sex,
right?
And there's a commentary on that when the sex scene happens. She's having sex, but she answers the phone. And he's like, and Boots said the reason she answers the phone is because she thinks what she's doing right now, the phone could be more interesting. That's why she took the phone.
Yeah, no, that was definitely obviously that that she wasn't very interested in what was going on. Like, yeah, okay, just like somebody scrolling their phone while they're having sex, and maybe this is more interesting.
So the idea behind white voice, which is like one of the easiest, if you had trouble watching this movie, because it is hard to find on streaming and to buy the DVD now. One of the most reproduced scenes is Denny Glover explaining how to do white voice, and he says like, no, not your Will Smith voice, and they're joking around,
not that nasally.
And then he does it, and it's obviously an overdub, of course, but it's just like kind of crazy, and then Cassius starts doing it, and
that's why he becomes successful.
He's not sounding like a white person. He's sounding like a white person. Oh.
Who?
I just got a phone call on my phone. I'm on my phone. So that was the Regal View. That was Regal View calling me up right there. So what happens is the white voice is how white people want to sound. They want to sound like their bills are paid. They want to sound like they don't have a care in the world, that you're just talking to them, and here's this great thing that I'm doing, and I'm going to let you in on it. And if you buy what I'm selling, you're going to become successful like me. So that was the idea behind the white voice. And it's kind of like a philosophy. And I guess it's like when rich people get together and talk to each other about what stocks to buy, or that scene in The Graduate. Remember The Graduate? The guy's talking to Dustin Hoffman. And he says, "Get into plastics. Plastics are the wave of the future." It's that sort of like thing. So that's what's happening there. Except now, it's like more of a 21st century rub on that. So that's the sort of thing where you're coming from a safe place. You're not worried that you only have 40 cents to put in your gas tank. You're not worried about getting to work. You're not worried about your uncle who's letting you live in his garage is going to lose the house in 30 days because he can't pay his bills. These are problems that that certain people don't have, and that's how you wanted to sound when you're making these calls. So it's not like, and I've actually worked very, very short time. I worked in telemarketing too, back in the day. I didn't last very long. I had no white voice apparently. So so that was the idea.
The white voice was very. It wasn't really nasally, but it was kind of like
it was there.
Nerd guy.
Yeah. It was there, and it was dubbed by other actors altogether.
Yes, there was other actors.
So Boots. So was there any commentary by Boots himself on white voice? Because he clearly took it to an extreme by dubbing it with completely different actors.
Basically, what I just said, yeah, and basically that it's more of the attitude. It's not the actual voice itself, and they spent some time talking about it. That he moved on to other things though, but but it's like one of the things that really sticks out in the movie, you know. And I guess it goes back to the idea that if you're hiring somebody, if you know, if you're walking out on the street, if there's a person of color, you know, and you're not a person of color, do you trust that person? Are you worried about that person? You know, and that's what the white voice does when a person of color calls you up at this telemarketing thing, convinces you that this is not a person of color talking to you, you know, and that you can trust them. And there's like that societal breakdown where
So what they're doing is they're using people's own racism against them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's
Yeah.
so ingrained.
I mean, they're calling it out to their face.
But it
and
went
using
beyond
it
just
against
the voice, because he was basically talking to them on their level. Like there's the one guy, he's like, you sell, what are you selling, encyclopedias or something? When she sees those books on your shelf there, she's gonna know that you're like a smart, like he was like, you know what I'm saying? He was like using their stupid
Yeah.
kind of thinking
Yeah.
against them, that kind of thing. So it wasn't just the voice, he was basically, you know, acting like, hey bro, you know, like I'm your white buddy, you know, that kind of thing. And it was kind of funny because he kind of nailed it in a couple spots there where he's just kind of hit home.
But
where,
yeah,
you know.
but it's
And
I mean, there's a subtle commentary on white people with that. Like it has to be. Like every time you see the Cash character using it, that's a commentary on white people.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know, I had a
Deservedly.
guest on my show on years ago, a concert pianist who brought out these composers. You did an album of piano music on these African American composers from the turn of the 20th century, like, you know, the early 1890s, 1900s. Serious composers, serious classical composers, and she did this album. And when we were talking, I said to her, this is an important album because we're never going to get over America's original sin. You know, like what we did with these people, you know, for hundreds of years. And this is something that needs to be dealt with, you know, and it can't just be dealt with, you know, over the course of what happened in the 60s. It's an ongoing thing. And there always seems to be like a back and forth. It's not really like, all right, we fixed it. It's more like one of those wave frames, you know, like a frame that has liquid in it, and you tilt it one way and everything spills this way, and
it runs over there. Yeah.
Spills the other way. Well, like right now, I feel like it's tilted this way and everything's spilling back, you know, and eventually it's going to go
keep
back
it going.
Well, I mean, you really want to talk about racism in this country.
It needs to be like at the same level. It needs to be like this, you know.
It's amazing that it was festering under the ground for so many. I think it was always it's been there since the 60s, I think, but under current politics, the curtain has been pulled back, the carpet's been pulled back, and now all that festering has come up. It's become okay now.
It's not actually a good thing that as a white person you say it's amazing that it was always there. Black people are gonna look you in the eye and go, no.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that they're going to say, yeah, it was always there. If you look at things, oh, no, it was getting better. Things, and I think for more part, it was getting better. I think a lot of people,
it was.
I think a lot of people were just, you know, the people that were really racist were just keeping it more to themselves for the most part because they realized that it was very socially not acceptable to feel that they felt that way. But now, under the current, it's okay to be that way openly. And I think we just realized how many people have not changed is what the sad part is.
And it's because people who feel that way feel they have lost something when they've never lost anything.
They haven't lost a damn.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, again, we can go down this political rabbit hole, but the problem is that there's certain parties that are basically driving it to blame everybody else. And that's what a lot of, unfortunate, whether you're white or whatever, when things are not going well for you, it's easier to blame the person of color. It's their fault.
Yeah, than to actually take responsibility.
It's their fault that I don't have a job or I got laid off. It's their fault. And that's where all this, and they're just fueling that, you know, by saying, oh, well, they took all our jobs.
The real engine of the machine is
nobody wanted.
The real engine of that machine is the rapacious capitalism, because the capitalism exists to just increase capital, to get more and more and more. And the way you get more and more and more is to pay your workers as little as possible. Hence, you know, Regal View, hence worry free. And it's funny when you say the words Regal View, that's the telemarketing company, and Worry Free, that's the company with the horse people. It has the same tempo, the same beat as Amazon. Amazon, Regal View, Worry Free, and it's sort of like, it rolls off the tongue the same way. It's the same sort of like break in it. And you read about, the Amazon warehouses near me, Amazon warehouses near me, trying to do a strike and stuff. And then those strike things will hit the news, and you'll read the commentary on the news story, and there'll be a bunch of people there just saying, "Oh no, they're communists," and they're socialists. And I'm like,
well, the corporations, and I work for a company, and twice they tried to get a union put in where I worked, and they put the full court press on employees to vote it down, to not they have, there's all laws and stuff. There's all laws and stuff for what they can and can't do. But they will pretty much, I mean, and I was a union member at another station for years, and every time the contract, which was a yearly, they would try to come up with some ridiculous offer to get us to vote the union out. They would say, well, we'll give you this much more than you're asking for over the course of 2 years, or whatever they come up with, if you vote to get rid of the union. And we're not that stupid, because as soon as you get your union out of there, you're going to go right back to the reasons that we voted a union in the first place.
It's because Americans, for some bizarre reason, have swallowed hook, line, and sinker this weird puritanical idea that you have to earn every little thing, and like something like, having days off, or having that's a luxury. No, you didn't earn that. You don't deserve that. This idea that you don't deserve things. America has stuck on this idea that they don't, no, they didn't work hard enough. You didn't work hard enough. You don't deserve those extra days off. Women don't deserve to have time off after their kids. Men don't deserve to have good health insurance. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing. I don't get it. I will never understand it.
Well, and then bringing the movie into this discussion, that's why Worry Free wants to turn their workers into equisapiens,
workhorses,
because they don't want them to be fully human,
because they think they won't want days off, they won't want health care, they won't want whatever else you get when you have the unions.
Well, they want to take their humanity away. It's basically, it's that's what
and
it
take
is.
their humanity away.
And that's because they don't want to treat anybody as, because when you talk about humanity and human rights, there are basic human rights in the world. People deserve to be able to eat. They deserve to be able to have shelter. They deserve to be able to, have like hopes and dreams a little bit here and there. They don't have to be driving around like, in Bentleys and Maseratis, like Cassius buys a Maserati in this movie with his money.
He's making money,
But it's that sort of thing where people, there's a set basic thing, and rapacious, out of control capitalism is when you have that one person at the top of the pyramid who is exploiting everybody underneath it, and there's no room for any sort of equitable thing. I sound so much like a communist right now, but it's just like a basic, it's a basic thing. Like, like there'll be companies in town where I live, and they'll put a sign up in their window and say, "We're closed because we can't find anybody to work." Nobody wants to work.
You're closed because you won't pay a living wage. That's why you're
and can you make, do you actually have a business? Because if you can't pay someone the money,
you should have a business
that basically that gives them like a place to live and food to eat and just electricity and whatever, the basics, just the basics. I'm not talking about the Hamptons and the mansions and stuff. If you can't afford to pay somebody to do that, and maybe you can't, maybe you're not
living wage
to do that.
The word you're looking for is living wage.
I was on
the term you're looking for, living wage, and that's what the joke is with our minimum wage. Most states are still well below what people would consider
living wage.
Living wage. And the joke of the part of the problem too with all the people argue about SNAP benefits and healthcare and Medicare or Medicaid, I should say, and stuff like that. And the problem is that with where the systems are set up, it's all or nothing. So either you're not working at all, so you can get your food and you can get your your health care
Well,
from
no,
the government.
there's a work requirement for
Sometimes,
unless
but
you have a
generally,
medical
but some of them,
disability,
I know
there's a
people
work
that are
requirement.
on Social Security because of disabilities, and as soon as they go, if they get any kind of job, they cut their disability check. They don't get
Yeah.
anything.
Well,
It's
I
crazy.
have
So
a-
it's
I-
like, you
I
know,
have a
they don't
disabled-
encourage
I have a
people.
disabled
You know,
son. I have a disabled.
it's catch 22.
I have his
So
disabled son who's on Social Security disability. He's how old is he? I don't know how old he is. He's 26 or 27 years old. I can't remember. And you know, he's on and a certain amount of money gets put into his account every month. And if that account goes above a certain number, he's going to lose his benefits.
Take
yeah.
away. Yep.
So
Well, I mean,
you know,
just pointed out.
crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy. And he
I
doesn't.
know.
And
But
he
Yeah,
doesn't.
I want to
you're
just
right.
point out, Dennis is saying in Canada it's $18 Canadian. In Ontario, I don't know if it changes by province, but $18 that equates to, I don't know
17
what
something.
American. But you know,
30.
that thing is that things are more expensive in Canada. So $18 minimum sounds pretty good to some of the people here, because I think are some of them like like below $10 an hour, $10 an hour minimum wage. I mean, that's really pathetic.
Well, you have to ask yourself, if you work
1760. Yeah, Dennis.
if you work minimum wage, whether it be $15 or $7.50 or whatever it is, if you work minimum wage for every hour there is in a week without sleeping, at the end of the week would you have enough money to pay your rent, electric, and feed yourself?
Not around here, because I see what rents are going for. It's insane.
Nope.
That's-
Not
I
around
mean,
here.
there are apartments. You'd swear we're in Manhattan. I mean, they want $2,000 a month for
Yeah.
apartment.
And
For
that's
like a
and that's the
one-bedroom
story,
apartment.
and
You
that's
know,
the
it's
story
crazy.
of this. That's the story of this, and that's where, you know, when he starts turning the people into horses, it's because it's still not enough. He's got them living in dorms, sleeping on top of each other in triple
bunk
bunk
beds,
beds.
yeah.
You know, eating this crap. You know, they're all wearing the same thing, and they're all working in these monotonous jobs. These are the jobs in China that people who are like putting together
Foxconn.
iPhones and stuff
You're right. It's
will like jump out a
Foxconn
window.
in China.
Yeah.
They would jump out a window to get away from this sort of thing. It's like Metropolis.
And they put up
You
nets.
know,
They have to lose
and
nets 'cause-
ironically, that's what Bill had said earlier, that this movie sounds like it's a modern Metropolis.
Yeah.
To some degree, he's
Very
right. And yeah, I mean, the social aspects of this film obviously are very clear in what they're trying to say, and there's a class system, a class war, you know, going to happen at some point, at least in this society.
I like the music too.
Yeah, the music was good. Let me wrap up because we're closing in on the hour. So let me just wrap up with saying Boots Riley. So he does what's called political hip hop, which sounds great. I'm gonna have to check some of that out. And that's mostly what he does. His television and film, he did Sorry to Bother You in 2018. In 2023, he did a series called I'm a Virgo, where he was writer, director, and executive producer. And next year in 2026, he'll have something called I Love Boosters coming out, where he was also the writer and director. And you know what, Boots Riley, you made me think more about about the injustices in this world, which are in glare. I mean, it's just glaring now with current events. So thank you for making me
he's really
wake up
really
just a
well
little bit
spoken.
more.
If you catch us, I especially recommend the Democracy Now! Interview with Boots with Amy.
Yeah, I might need to go check that out.
He's very well spoken. It's an interesting thing, and you get an idea of what he's lived through, because what we're talking about here, as white Americans, we haven't experienced this, you know. And
yeah, but at least he's making us recognize it and talk about it, and that's his goal. Well, I don't know what his goal was, but that's a very good outcome.
Yeah, and you know, it's you really need to have like that empathy. You really have to have the understanding, and you have to have the courage to be working for that change and not rely on name calling and silliness. You know, I do have to say this again from my father. My father used to joke, because my father was functionally illiterate. He was able to raise a family working at American Airlines as a person working for American Airlines, not as a pilot, as working in the hangar for American Airlines air freight back in the day. And he had said two things. First of all, being functionally illiterate, he says he had to quit school when he was older than the teacher. That was number one, which is the joke he always told us. The other thing was, the type of job he always ended up finding. You know, he told me this when I was looking for a job when I was a teenager. He says, the type of jobs I always end up doing was there was an ad in the paper that said, "Horse died, man wanted." You know, that was his thing. And you know, I think about that, the fact that he was able to buy a house, to retire comfortably, on a single income.
Well,
And I,
that's the thing. It's a different. Everything has gone up
That's the thing.
exponentially.
and
Look
it
what college costs
it took me and my family to raise 2 kids, pay for their college, and pay for Jamie's college,
You and
retire
Nanette,
comfortably.
right?
It took 2 adults with master's degrees working for 30 plus years
Yeah.
to be able to accomplish with financial security what he was able to accomplish without a high school diploma, you know, and a single income. There's something wrong here.
Yeah, no, I mean everything's gone up. Even I remember I bought a brand new car in 1985,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
car cost $8,500, brand new, brand spanking new. And
What
now
was it? Can you say what it was?
it was a Plymouth Turismo. It was a Duster. It was when it was after Iacocca took righted Chrysler. Remember the Dodge Omni? It was a Dodge Omni. It was a Dodge Omni with a better looking body on it. It was the same car, and it was a good car, and I had it. And my dad had paid for it. Not that me and you care about the story. My dad had paid for it. I was commuting to college. He wanted me to have a decent car. He bought the car. What the deal was, I'd pay him back the car when I got graduated. I got married right out of college, and he said, "There's your wedding present. You don't owe me anything for the car." Because $8,500 to him, and he was a hardworking man, and he saved his very frugal. He could turn a penny into copper wire. You know, that was it wasn't, you know, a massive hit to him to give me to say to forgive that loan. So, but you look at what cars cost now, it's insane. You know, you can't you're hard pressed to find anything under $20,000 if you could find it. And it's a
$30,000 for a 2-year-old truck that I bought. It was already used, 2 years old with 20,000 miles on it. It was $30,000.
Yeah,
30.
Crazy. Yeah, I traded my 3/4 ton in 2016 last year, and they gave me 32,000 for it. So somebody ended up paying over 40 for that truck, probably when they bought it, which is about what I paid for it brand new. Unbelievable. So anyway,
but Rizzo, to go back to the white voice really quickly. So when I'm driving around in my old truck now with 200,000 miles on it, a little rust bubble starting to show on the skin and stuff like this, I say to myself, am I worried about this thing breaking down? I'm not, you know, because I'm at the point now in my life where I do have the resources, and that's the white voice. I don't
either you have it fixed or you buy a new car.
If I want to.
You have white privilege.
Yeah, and well, yeah, I guess that's the same thing. But yeah, I don't worry. Like I did a lot of driving the last 2 days, and you know, my transmission is making a little bit of noise, and I'm like, am I worried about this, or does this truck just need to be dipped in money, you know, for a little bit, you know? And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to dip it in money, you know.
Is it
gonna hurt me? No.
But you know what? I do things. You know, I have my cars like undercoated to keep them from I just had. I paid up over $200 to have the oil undercoat it so that to keep it to try to get more years out of the mass what these things cost, because otherwise around here they just rust right out from underneath themselves. So
yeah.
Did you guys Phil, what you just said remind me, Keanu Reeves has a new movie coming out, and he and Sandra Oh play angels, and they're standing there, and Sandra was like, how's your case going? And Keanu's like, I tried to teach him that money doesn't solve everything. And she goes, how's that going? And he's like, turns out it did solve a lot of his problems.
So yeah,
it does. Access.
Money. Let's not start. It's 8:04. Let's not start.
Yeah, I mean,
but you know what? It's really something worth thinking about. And honestly, the thing that I think about the most with this movie is the shock that I feel in my heart and my mind that you convinced Rizzo to do this movie.
No, the conviction was, wait a minute, don't give her that much credit. It was like we had no idea, and I was just like, see if Phil's got anything he wants to do. So,
So I'm basically I'm like in Sci-Fi Distilled main office. There's a glass box, with a little hammer next to it. Says,
There's like three. You've got the.
in case if we run out of ideas, break this box. Phil's
well, I know
inside.
you'll
You've done it to
obviously
us like
talk for
3
an hour.
times
So
now.
there you go. It works. Fills the time. I will say this about this. I did like the movie overall. It's like I said, it's a dark comedy. If you liked this, go watch Atlanta on Hulu. It's not really the same thing, but it has some kind of quirkiness. And the main character also, what's the actor's name there?
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover, right, produces that and is the main character. But Lakeith Stanfield, who is the main, and actually the reason Lakeith Stanfield did this movie was they originally were Donald Glover was going to play Cassius, but he was shooting Atlanta, and so he decided he recommended his co-host or his actor on Atlanta for this. So I really liked Atlanta. Go watch it on Hulu. It's like 4 seasons, and it's just a really interesting, funny.
Real briefly, Boots Riley's father and Danny Glover were in college together. That's why Danny Glover and we're radical.
Did you catch Danny Glover's name? I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was?
In the bar. Yeah, he said that. He said something like, "No, I don't dance. I'm too old for this shit," which was a direct go back to Lethal Weapon. That was his line. Nice. Remember, I'm too old. Yeah. You know how old he was when he did that? He was only like 48.
Can't afford to dance
for that shit. I'm like way past 48.
But Riley's father and Glover were like at protests in 1968 together in California.
Yeah. And Boots is very involved with protests and activism, which is awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, if you guys can find it, go give it a watch if you're bored, whatever.
And then watch the movie Get Out. It's sort of like a nice companion piece.
Yeah, Get Out. Yeah.
So unfortunately, guys, we are going to be off for almost a month because we have Saturday next week, then Thanksgiving, and then I'm on vacation for a couple of weeks. I'll be in Europe, so I'll be 6 hours ahead of you. And then so we will be back December 17th, I believe is the correct date.
Yep.
December 17th. And then we'll be off for Christmas Eve because I won't be around for that, and I'm sure y'all got some better things to do. I hope so. And then New Year's Eve, we might do something New Year's Eve. So stay tuned for that.
Ring it in the New Year's.
We'll see you either next week at Shatner if you're coming up. We hope to see you. It's always a good time. Phil will have some crap to sell, I'm sure.
I just bought another collection. Yeah, I got some.
There you go. So he's got more stuff.
Great.
And then of course we'll all be up there. And then of course you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. If obviously we won't be talking to you after that. So on that note, before I ramble any longer,
the Northern Lights.
Go look at the Northern Lights, which apparently is supposed to be very in the whole northern part of the country. So
very sorry I bothered everybody.
Live long and prosper. And may the force be with you always. Good night.